Okay, Tuesday night on the East Coast, 9 p.m., and we're live with another episode of Shop Talk, Chris and Ken's weekly report on all the motorcycle news we can muster up. Some bullshit in the middle. You're waiting, right? You're waiting for me to work in the bullshit. Oh, I had to do it. So this is going to be our regular time. I hope we're set on something, and you guys tell us what you think about it. Obviously, Heather Callan is sitting off in the wings.
Hey guys, I'm holding my phone because we're trying to get an Instagram feed.
I forgetting to put you in there. I keep saying, "Oh, Chris and I, blah blah blah," and it's Heather, you are an integral part of it. Is it integral or integral?
Integral.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
that's a lot of big words already. Obviously, our color commentator from Colorado is checking in this evening as well, Mr. Ken Connie. Applaud now.
I'm the color, huh?
Yeah, man. Yeah, baby.
So
I've got color on. I've got
hey,
red.
I'm gonna flip this real quick for Instagram.
Okay.
All you people watching on Instagram, go to our Facebook page. You can watch the whole show there.
Look how good she is.
CycleSourceMagazine.com. It will be on YouTube later, but I'm not holding this phone for the whole show, so zip on over to Facebook.
And it'll be a podcast.
And it will be a podcast on forever2wheels.com.
On iTunes.
So everybody out there that's watching this, you can shoot your comments to us, questions throughout the show. We got two great guests tonight. Marilyn Stemp, recently announced as one of the Sturgis Hall of Fame class of 2018 inductees. That was a lot of words in one sentence right there.
That was a lot of words. Huh? Correct.
Marilyn has a much and storied history in the motorcycle industry. I think many companies and people personally would not be where they are or do as well as they are today without Marilyn's help and intervention. Backing her up.
Intervention.
Hey, listen, seriously. No, the reason I said that, and we'll get to this later in the show, but I will, as a man, I will admit to you that when I switched from a regional magazine to a national magazine, this industry kicked me square in the ass. And there was many late night phone calls. If not for the counsel and tutelage of Marilyn Stemp, I would not be sitting here today. Because man, I'm telling you, this is a tough old world. And whenever you're sending things out, tens upon thousands of people reading what you're writing, you're gonna get a nasty letter every once in a while. And for me, that shit just tears me down. And Marilyn was one of the people that helped me get through that and understand the responsibilities and benefits that come along with being a journalist. So. So backing her up in the second half hour of the interview portion will be Krystal Hess. Krystal is at the head of the motorcycle missions effort, doing a lot of great work across the country. It's a really unique program, and she comes upon the engineering of it honestly, and we'll get to that through her interview. But lots of news this week too, right? What do you got for us?
we got some news.
we got some
you're
news.
Funny.
Well, I'm passing off to you, baby.
That comment is directed towards me because I didn't give Chris any news today. His lovely wife actually was the one that gave him the news because we had a show on Thursday. I literally went to bed last night. I was like, oh yeah, I totally got him the news today. That's what I thought in my head because it was 3 days ago or whatever that I got you, and then I realized when you texted me oh yeah, I haven't gotten him anything.
So
except ridiculous.
I hope I sent it to you
feeds.
in enough time for you to review it, maybe, so you might know.
Okay.
Then again, I sent it to Ken.
I love when she does this.
No, I know I sent it to Ken. Whether or not he actually reviewed it, I don't know.
Listen,
heck, I don't know if you reviewed it, Chris.
That's what I was going to cop to the fact that at 9:03 I was running down the stairs buttoning the shirt that I have on. So I'm not making any promises about what I did or did not have a chance to review.
So one of the things that you and I did talk about, which is it's kind of old news, but it's the whole Passion Belt deal. And I think that's going to be, that's not part of the news, but we might as well talk about it anyways, is we're going to have, it seems like we're going to have builders almost every week, barring this week. Well, guess we've got you on, but that are going to be talking about builds.
We have a builder from this week too. We have Randy Knowles out of
right.
St. Louis. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to have a builder on each week. They're going to kind of talk about Passion Built, what they're doing for the show, that sort of thing. This is in conjunction with the Buffalo Chip and with Michael Lichter, more specifically, in his Motorcycles as Art show. So that being said, that was kind of the most influential thing that I think we came up with this week. I think all the other news is fine. Yamaha enters the electric world. Yay! I don't know,
dude, there's.
I mean, I know we care, but do we? I mean,
listen, the thing that we care about and the stuff that what you have to say at this point. I mean, the obligation of intellect would dictate that we make the comment that, God damn, there's a lot of desperation in the motorcycle industry right now. Like, people were running around literally with their asses on fire trying to keep their heads from catching. And they're willing to try anything, do anything, go anywhere, and it's madhouse. It really is.
Sometimes I have to wonder if it's kind of like the climate. It's cyclical. Oh, you actually want me closer. It's cyclical. It will come and it will go, but I honestly believe that motorcycles are here to stay. And in everything, there are downward trends and upwards trends. Just sit tight, relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't start selling RVs.
Yeah.
But listen, I mean, quite frankly, it's a lot easier for us to say that upon high because, I don't have 250,000 shareholders to answer to in the next quarter. I mean, it's easy to say motorcycling will always be here. At what extent they'll always be here, whether it's going to be profitable for people to be here for the, the next 5 to 10 year for their plan, I don't know, but.
So there were two things that we were kind of talking about there. One was that Yamaha just announced that they're going to be doing some electric motorcycle stuff, which is great. I mean, it's not, that stuff doesn't hurt. I think the more people we have in the market doing that, I think the better off we are because the technology is just going to start to accelerate at a higher rate. I mean, just think about kind of where the rest of the motorcycle industry has come, and in terms of technology, and it's just, when they start ramping that up, it's just going to start to get better and better. I rode that Alta, which Harley Davidson has a big whatever stock in or portion of now, and it's a cool bike. Like, it's for sure, like it's a cool bike, it's a cool platform, but there's still places to improve. So I think that's where, for me, an electric motorcycle is not an option. I'm like, I can ride for 2 hours. That doesn't make a lot of sense, Well,
and here's the other part about it. And like, I'm not going to be a hater and like, do the typical biker thing and say, hey, this is all just for the crunchy granola crowd. But no, seriously, like, this is hey, it's fun to ride a Vespa every once in a while. It's fun to ride a dirt bike every once in a while. You know what I mean? But
don't say what you're going to say.
Do I think this is going to take the place for people who are like, putting miles on a motorcycle, doing, destination travel and shit like that? I don't see the electric motorcycle becoming that. You know what I mean? I think it's
a lot
always
of people
going to be a
didn't see
novelty.
the electric car coming that, and it took somebody like Tesla to come in and go, kind of turn everything in their head. That being said, I mean, Teslas are what, 0.0001% of, all auto sales. So it's just that they've made a big enough stink, that people are, So anyway, I think the electric thing is great. The one piece that I did see this week, or unless you want to continue on the electric thing.
No, go ahead, please.
So the one thing that I did see this week, and I meant to take a picture, but I didn't.
Ken,
was
first rule of journalism: no picture didn't happen. What are you thinking?
She's learning pretty good.
On our local Redbox, where you can rent videos, there's a huge thing plastered on it that says "Win this dirt bike," and it's a thing for Honda, and I'm like, how cool is that, right? Like getting that in front of kids, because I mean, honestly, like who's going to, I mean, obviously a lot of people go to Redbox, but kids are going to Redbox way more than adults, right?
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I'm just
definitely
stuff up right now.
No, it's definitely an opportunity to engage a family. You know what I mean? Because that's, the family is stopping on the way home and you're grabbing snacks and stuff for the night. That's where Redbox has capitalized over the mom and pop video stores,
Sure. Which there are none of. And so anyways, I saw that. I was like, oh, that's really encouraging. And then, I don't think you put this in the news. I read that most ridiculous article that I sent you.
What? Tell me.
Oh, I think it is in there.
About
extreme poverty with the millennials.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, and the fact that, and it was from, I can't remember, MPN, some guy at some analytics, right at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I can't see what you've got up.
Black Ink Technologies. Ken Gibson, data analyst
So,
at Black Ink Technologies. Let's give him his full credit.
Yeah, okay. We will give him his full credit. I would love to have him on here and have a discourse about the fact that, A, has he ever been on two wheels? B, are his clients Ducati, BMW, Triumph? Definitely not Harley Davidson, because he actually says in there, right? There is a quote in there that says, Harleys are too expensive, blah, blah, blah. You can't even buy a new one for under $10,000. So not only does he have no idea what he's talking about, but factually, it is incorrect, because you can go buy a brand new Harley Davidson for $9,999.
Tax not included.
Less than $10,000.
I just peed a little bit. I just did. That was so awesome. No, but you know what, man? I mean, the thing that cats like this miss all the time is like they look at everything from a superficial perspective at the very top of the food chain. You know what I mean? They're looking across the board for growth and growth potential at the top of the market, and it does nothing to reflect the drill down for where our culture goes. You know what I mean? Because the logical progression of the evolution of a motorcyclist is now, with this generation, as it has always been, and you start with any piece of shit you can get rolling down the road on two wheels. And it grows or not from there, but to dispel an entire generation of not eligible or not applicable to this entire industry is asinine.
It's totally ridiculous.
And
it's totally ridiculous.
I would love to know where that comes from.
And I think there's an agenda behind it. I mean, I really do. I think, and I'm not like a big conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I feel like, and he says, obviously, Harley has the lion's share of the market, right? But those incremental sales that Ducati's making, for instance, or Triumph, like, if they sell, 2,000 more motorcycles, they're up 25%. If Harley's down 2,000 motorcycles, it's like 0.001% or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just not apples to apples. I mean, nobody's selling the amount of motorcycles, not even, and, Indian isn't even remotely close to selling the amount of motorcycles that Harley Davidson is. And do people want Harleys? Of course they do. There's not, I'm sorry, people are still itching after. They might not be able to fully, I mean, that's what I wanted. I mean, yeah, I bought a Honda Shadow.
But I'm going to tell you something that is apples to apples.
But that's what I wanted.
I'm going to tell you something that is the apples to apples in this conversation, and this is for sure. Watching the motorcycle sales come down, it doesn't matter if Harley is losing 1%, these guys are gaining 25%. The motorcycle sales are coming down at whatever increment you want to point out. And instead of everybody grouping together and finding initiatives that are like, the early start and banding together for, against government and state regulations that prohibit the growth of this industry, the growth of our culture, this is the shit that goes on. You know what I mean? This infuriates me to watch. The nitpick and the marketing nitpicking that goes on that wants to discredit other brands only for their own benefit is total horseshit.
Yeah, why bother? The one thing, and I know this isn't in there, but and it needs further investigation. But I did pull up It was on, I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, and they were talking about the fact that the EPA is now going to have way more stringent rules to have to pass any sort of laws or legislation. And I think that could greatly benefit the motorcycle industry.
And I think that could greatly benefit the United States, since the EPA is basically a subversion of the Constitution. So
yes.
It'd be awesome if the United States government actually pays attention to the fact that we have a due process that provides that we only have laws that are put on the people of this country from their elected officials, not an appointed body.
Not from some weird regulatory system, Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, bizarre.
And I did learn that shit from Bandit and Rogue, and I'm glad I did.
I know. Power to the people.
Right on. Down with the man. So here, I got some. Let's lighten it up. First of all, we went right past when we were talking about Passion Built. We went right past the fact that we do have a quick interview. So Michael Lichter's Passion Built is the theme and title of the exhibit at the Buffalo Chip this year. It's one of the greatest things that goes on all year long, because it specifically takes a look at our culture as a whole, what we're doing, where the direction that everything's going in. It's one of my favorite things every year. And this year he has invited a number of people that we're going to get to throughout the next coming weeks. And we're going to interview some of these guys. The whole purpose of it is to show people who are building things from passion in their garage after work. So these are people that have 9-to-5 jobs, are doing something completely different, and they build motorcycles, at least 3 national level motorcycles to their credit. And they're going to be on exhibition at the Buffalo Chip. So one of the guys...
I got to interrupt. I'm sorry, because I'm so excited. My name's not actually on the list, but Chris is so... Being his wife, I kind of get to help a little bit. I'm going for 40 over. Everybody tell Chris we need to do 40 over Sugar Bear. Come on, everybody. I need your support.
40
and it's
over?
a 77 shovel.
You're killing me. You're killing me.
He doesn't have platforms long enough.
No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yes, he does, because Clinton's bike is 12 feet long, and they're already taking care of it. Just saying.
So... back to what we were talking about. One of the guys that we do have an opportunity to talk to, the first in this series, is a man named Randy Knowles. Randy's a good friend of the program out of St. Louis. He runs a thing called the St. Louis Cycle Showcase STL. And Randy is by day a sound man, all around good human being, and he's one of the invited builders, the first one that we're going to talk to in this series. So let's jump over and take a listen to Randy for a second.
Right on.
Hey, Chris, Ken, and Heather, and the puppies, and everybody back at the Grease Gears Garage. How you doing? My name's Randall Knowles, and I'm calling from St. Louis, Missouri. I can't tell you what an honor and a privilege to be invited by Mr. Michael Lichter to the Passion Built exhibit at the Buffalo Chip in Sturgis this year. It's truly humbling. By day, I'm a sound guy. I do live sound for music events and concerts. But when I'm not doing that, I'm here in the garage, and I'm trying to create something special. And for Mr. Michael Lichter to give me this opportunity, I'm very gracious. I appreciate it. When I'm not doing concerts, when I'm not making sparks here in the garage, I have this little show in St. Louis called Cycle Showcase STL. And we're going to do it this year, September 8th and 9th. It's going to take place downtown St. Louis, and it's a collection of rare, historic, custom, crazy bikes. Come check it out, and we'll see you there.
So, like I said, Randy's a good friend of the program, and the thing that he does, the Cycle Showcase, is off the hook, and I'm so happy to see people like him be invited to something like this, because Randy's been in and around this stuff for quite a long time, but to watch his face when he talks about being invited to Lichter's exhibit, man, it absolutely floors him, so that's the kind of thing that I believe this year is going to show everybody, is how much passion and drive and determination is still in this, and I think it's going to be empowering for a lot of people to see.
I think it's...
Gosh, I hope so.
I got to see a sneak peek of the frame that Randy's using. He hasn't put any progress pictures up or anything yet, but when we were in Daytona, he did show me his frame. It's incredible, and I absolutely cannot wait to see it.
Is it what I've seen of his before?
No, actually, this is a frame.
Meaning a St. Louis D-rake?
No, it is not. It is not. I know a little bit of the backstory. It's actually, he didn't build the frame. He did buy it, but he's been waiting to buy this frame for years and years and years. And finally the owner, was ready to part with it. And he called Randy and said, all right, let's make a deal.
That's the best. That is the best.
So he
That's
finally
awesome.
was able to get it. He had been waiting a long time for it. So, and it's
awesome.
really incredible. I'm excited to see it. I'm
Nice.
excited to see a bunch of what people are doing.
So listen, before we get to our first interview for the hour, do you have anything from Facebook?
Oh, we have a bunch of people watching us tonight. I love it. Let's see who's here. We have Mailman. Camel is here. Dusty Pine.
Camel, right on.
Jamie Roberts from Houston, Missouri. First time he's been able to watch it live.
Cool.
Mike Harden and Rebecca. Billy Grotto is here.
What's up, Billy? I owe you a phone call, Billy.
I owe you a motorcycle, and I promise I'm going to work on it right after the show.
Joey Chop is here.
Oh, man,
Crazy
my boy.
Radio, excuse me. Mailman says Harley's electric bike project has some potential, talking 300 miles before a charge, and charge time is around 45 minutes. Let's see. Tim Gillet is here. Joey Chop loves the show. Great idea. Joseph Dillinger Chelly. Great show. Glad someone's doing it. Mike Harden and Robbie are here. Let's see. Boy, there's a lot of people here. Missy.
Listen, Hardco pay you to say his name twice. I just want to know.
Oh, sorry. I'm going down the list. Let's see. We've got a couple of votes for the 40 over. Mailman.
Bastards.
Miss Judy says, listen to the lady. She's almost always right. Camel, do the 40 over. Jason Sims, no, I was not talking about a 40-inch wheel. 40 over Springer. Hey, big wheel baggers have their place. More power to the people that love them, but I'm not one of them. Yeah. Moose is here.
Moose,
hey,
no
Moose,
kidding. What's up,
right
baby?
On. Ashley Dupree from ROT, Texas is in the house. Hey, Ashley. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, for sure.
And Brian Gates, Barclay Smashy. It's so nice to see everybody joining in. Thank you so much. If you have questions or comments for the interviewers, post them here. I'll get to them while they're on. Or if you just want to tell Chris what kind of bike we need to build for Passion Built, that
Oh, man,
too.
listen, we do. We seriously appreciate you guys coming in and listening to the show. Obviously, we need a hand. Anybody that's willing to give us one, it's much appreciated.
Thank God y'all can't see what goes on back here.
And with that, let's move to our first interview.
Yeah, let's do it.
And the first one is Marilyn?
Yes, it's going to be. I hope. We'll see.
Right
We'll
on.
see how the luck holds out on the phone calls. Marilyn, how are you? You're on the air with Chris and Ken.
Hey guys, how are you?
We're good.
Very good. We're just trying to figure out how to talk.
Damn it!
I like the music.
You know, this engineering while you're broadcasting thing is a neat, novel idea, but boy,
Yeah. We're in a little bit over our heads, to be honest with
No.
you. But that's the best way to be.
I think you're doing fine. We don't do anything unless we're pushed into it, you know?
So listen, I'm so excited to talk to you. Like when I saw the inductee announcement and saw your name on there, that is so fantastic. That is so fantastic for you.
Agreed.
Oh, thanks. You know, I'm pretty excited about it, I have to tell you. But, you know, what comes along with that is, you know, a little bit of bewilderment and kind of like some, I don't know, perplexing response, I guess. You know, I look at the rest of that class and think, what am I doing there, you know? I mean,
Oh man.
Chris, we don't do anything as journalists, right? We just get the pleasure of learning about a lot of really cool people who actually do stuff.
You
And then
know,
we get to write and talk about them, you know?
if we were here talking tonight to a regular journalist, a tried and true and classically schooled journalist, I might agree with you about that. But what I've seen and what I've tried to learn from you in the time that I've known you is you make yourself available to every single opportunity and station that there is in this industry. Honest to God, Ken, like the time that I've known Marilyn, I've seen her work registration at bike shows that she's just showed up to cover. I've seen her jump in for charity. She's always the first one to collect prizes for somebody that's trying to raise money for a good cause. She is always there. She's always behind the scenes making sure the nuts and bolts of this thing are connected and the parts that need to keep running to keep this industry alive. And I think in saying that, that's really why you deserve this honor, you know.
Agreed.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the backup. And, you know, I really feel like I've had a lot of grace in my life and opportunity. And if you don't share that, then you're kind of missing out on the karma, you know.
Right on. Well, let's talk for a minute, you know, for some of our listeners that might not be hip to your whole journey. Let's talk for where Marilyn Stemp gets involved with motorcycling.
Oh, I blame Dennis Stemp. You know, it was all his fault. He was such an entrepreneur, and he always wanted to run his own business and hated it after he'd been working for somebody else for a couple of years. And, you know, we'd sit around the dinner table thinking, what could we do? What could we do? And honestly, you know, he was just so bright and creative, and I guess what I brought to the table was just some grounding. Kind of reminds me of Chris and Heather, come to think of it.
Oh, man.
Was this in the 70s?
Yeah.
80s? When was this, Marilyn?
It was mostly in the 80s. You know, Dennis had a couple of shops, and, oh, my God, you know, he told me a story about his old shovel head that he bought from his Uncle Russ, and the thing came with a Golding sidecar on it. And Dennis took a hacksaw to that thing and dragged the sidecar out to the trash the next morning, and because he just thought it was, you know, old manish, and he didn't want anything to do with that sidecar. And then, I mean, can you believe this? But it was all his fault, the motorcycle thing. You know, I came from a really non-mechanical family. I mean, my dad didn't know what end of the screwdriver to use, and I remember being like 10 years old, and he brought the grill home in a box from Sears. And he's like, hey, honey, want to help me do this? Because he didn't know what to do.
You know, real quick, while you were talking about him, the picture that you sent along of Dennis, I had up on the screen, and I have to tell you something. I was going through your pictures last night getting ready for the show, and I never realized, now that your son Vince has grown up, I never realized how much he looks like Dennis. Like it was, I put the two pictures side by side, and I was like, oh my God.
Well, that's a good thing. I think that everybody would agree that's a good thing, you know?
And I mean, you guys were both, like, growing up in motorcycling in Western Pennsylvania, you guys were both my heroes. And Dennis had a magazine, Ken, when Iron Trader News got to the national newsstand and it became Ironworks, you know, it was something I could so relate to, because for the first time, out of all the old dirty biker rags that were all over the place, here was a magazine I found on the newsstand that said the Thinking Man's Harley magazine. You know, and it was no bullshit. It was regular people doing regular stuff, you know, talking tech, and, you know, it had a metaphysical undercurrent to it, and like that just became everything to me reading that magazine.
Well, you know, we had a couple of women columnists early on. You know, we had Chris Tiger Lady and Becky Brown, and man, when Dennis came up with that Thinking Man's tagline, we got in so much trouble.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, I can say, you know, my experience with Ironworks is actually Marilyn was the first one to actually give me any sort of writing gig. So
yeah, me too.
Without her, I wouldn't be here.
Me too, man. Me too. Early days, like she.
I think there's a lot of people that say that.
And that's what I mean. You know, this seeing you inducted to the Hall of Fame, like it's a victory for so many of us, because you're responsible for a whole graduating class here, like it or not.
Agreed.
Well, you know, that's good, except I hope it doesn't mean I'm old, or like, you know, I'm like not done yet, you know, so.
Oh, not by far.
Put me out to pasture.
God, people like you and Michael Lichter, when people ask me how do I do all the stuff that I do, I'm like, man, you got to come out to an event and try to keep up with people like Marilyn and Michael, because that'll show you the pace.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, Michael puts us all to shame, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
So listen, for 2 seconds here while we're talking to Miss Marilyn, I'm going to remind everybody on Facebook Live that your questions can be answered. Shoot off your questions. If you have questions, you have a memory to share about Ironworks back in the day, or Marilyn, or you want to know more about the Hall of Fame breakfast that's coming up in Sturgis this year, shoot them over, and Miss Heather will get them answered for you as soon as we can.
So I want to interject real quick. And Marilyn, I don't necessarily have firsthand knowledge, but being with Chris for the years that I have been, I have to say a personal thank you to you, because without you and your guidance, Chris probably wouldn't be here. And that goes actually all the way back to Dennis, because on a regular basis, he reminds me of how much you guys did for him, whether it was words of kindness or support, or in the very, very beginning, tell him to not do it and run. I think were almost your words.
That's the
Yeah,
best.
he didn't listen to that part, did he?
No, he didn't. He didn't. But I do know he is forever grateful for everything you've done for him over the years. And I know without that, Cycle Source probably wouldn't still be here. So thank you from me.
And that's the stuff that I want to talk about too for a second here, is that mentorship comes from a great perspective. Like, you guys were one of the only other publishers that did this from the ground up. Like, you literally, the card table, showing up at shows and handing out your thing, and you both worked at a printing house and put the magazine together on your off time, and that was ground up, man. You guys really fought wars to get that thing to the newsstand.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because, when you talk about reaching out a hand and helping people, that had been done for Dennis and I over and over again. And the best example I can give you of that is, we were so dumb. We just thought you just make a magazine and everybody wants it.
Yeah.
It takes a little more work than that. But with our first couple of issues, we were up there in Pittsburgh and looking at these J&P swap extravaganzas that were going on, thinking, oh, man, we can be famous in 10 minutes. Let's take our magazines there. So, we loaded up the van, and we put a card table in the van and drove over to, I want to say it was Cincinnati. We walk in the door of the J&P event, and there's John Parham. And he says, hey, what's your registration number or whatever? We're like, well, you have to register for this? We didn't register. So, he says, well, what do you do? And we gave him a copy, and he said, give me 10 minutes, stay right here. And he walked away. So he came back a little while later, and he points to this little hole, the gap there in the wall, and says, all right, you can set up here. You do have a table, don't you? And we said, yeah, we do. And he said, all right, but if a lady comes by here and her name is Jill, don't tell her I told you could be here. Because he snuck us in without telling Jill, because she'd make us pay,
That's fantastic.
But, it's people like that helped us all the time.
And I think so many of us have stories about John like that too. I mean, he was another one that just, he gave of himself until, unfortunately, until the day he died.
Yep, true enough. And I can give you a dozen other examples of people who just looked at us like we were crazy, but I guess we were sincere enough. They let us in, or they pushed us in the right direction, or did something to give us a hand.
So your story, though, doesn't nearly begin and end with Ironworks magazine alone. I mean, the stuff that you've done with the Evel Knievel Museum, the work that you're always doing with the Buffalo Chip Gazette, you have, I mean, the drag magazine, you have some real depth behind your tenure of this industry.
Well, and I attribute part of that to kind of building the network for a long time. And, when Ironworks went away, I just thought it was the end of the world. And I scrambled, and I pleaded, and I really looked for an alternative to that. But, without going into massive debt more than I ever had before, I just couldn't swing it on my own. So, I had to kind of reinvent myself. And it's a tribute to our industry that had enough kind of threads out there that I could kind of yank and pull on a couple of them, and people gave me work to do.
Right on.
And, really, I think part of that reinvention, when I look back on it like 4 years ago, I mean, I look at how our industry is so changed now, especially in the magazine world. And I'm starting to feel like, man, I'm lucky. I got like a 4-year head start on everything that's going on now,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavy game, that's for sure. But
it is for sure.
So when Ironworks went away, you did get a head start, and I mean, obviously Keith Ball was a decade ahead of all of us, but you jumped in with bringing back the old moniker, and you brought Iron Trader News back, And I'm bringing the website up right now. So tell everybody the work that goes on with Iron Trader News.
Oh, I couldn't do it without some really great contributors. One in particular is Jack McIntyre. He's like, my foundation on Iron Trader News. He's the web guru, the photographer. He just makes it all happen. And I'm not as timely there as I always want to be, but, when I feel guilty and I check on it to see where we stand, I find 9 times out of 10, Jack has saved me once again, and put something up there that's timely and interesting and valuable. So it's a team. And, I have lots of folks who opt in. Leah Mish does some writing for me. And, my son Vincent still throws stuff up now and then, which is really kind of cool. I love having him involved.
Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of the news bits that we get, even for this show, we're tipped off with the stuff that you're doing on Iron Trader News. So I'm not sure that you have to worry about being any more timely than that. You're scooping
kind.
us.
It's hard to keep up with you.
You're scooping us, kid.
Well, and you mentioned Evel Knievel thing, and I'll tell you, that has been such a wacky, crazy journey. And, I had planned to go out to the Mid-America auction in January of 2015. And it was just a few days, actually 2 days after I got the news that the Ironworks website was being shut down on New Year's Eve of 2014. Oh. So I went anyway, and that's when I met Lacy McKay, the guy who was pulling together this Evel Knievel collection, really.
Yeah.
And boy, who knows? Talk about serendipity. I was just going to write about him. I didn't have a place for the story, but I was going to write about him. I was probably going to call you, Chris. Hey, I got a great story. But that turned into a ridiculous journey that culminated last June when we actually opened the museum. And it's just the most badass place you can imagine.
Yeah,
and we've had visitors from every state and probably a couple dozen foreign countries. And we have like a VR virtual reality ride. You jump on the XR replica, put on the headset and goggles, and you think you're doing the jump over the Capitol building, And it's just so much fun.
Didn't I see it nominated as like one of the coolest places to visit in America last year?
Oh, Heather, you're so good. I know that I think on TripAdvisor we're the number one museum in Kansas and the number one attraction in Kansas. But as much as I love Kansas, just put it on that backdrop, right?
Well, let me see if I can bring this up real quick. There's actually a little Yeah, so we'll watch the video another time, or at least without sound. No, but you know what? There it is. So one of the first things they show in this video, Ken, is the Evel Knievel motorcycle stunt toy. And I mean, how many of us had that? Like that will always take me immediately back to my childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And one of the first things people say to me is, they don't even use words. They just take their right hand and turn it around like they're spinning that thing,
Yeah, right on. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is a great look that we have up right now, the video from the museum website. And like, God, it seems like yesterday.
I'll make sure I throw up a link to the the website so people can check it out. And if you're passing through Canvas, please make sure you stop in, because that's the one reason I actually want to go to Kansas is so I can visit there.
You can go there on your way to Colorado.
Yes. I'm very excited to be going to Colorado this year.
Yeah, we just got, as a Penn State alumni, we'll share this news with you. Amelia, in her second year now, her second internship is going to be at at
Theater Aspen.
Theater Aspen. So
whoa, that is so cool.
Right?
So that actually goes out to everybody who was asking about Killer last week in Daytona. That's what she's doing with her life. So
she's going out and being a grown-up and putting all the stupid motorcycle shit behind her. God damn it.
She's adulting. none of us have learned how to adult yet, but apparently she is.
So let's fast forward to Buffalo Chip Gazette and the insanity that is your life for the 14 days of Sturgis.
No,
I do not
always,
you, Marilyn. I do not envy you in that part.
Oh, Jesus.
That is such a whirlwind.
You guys can relate to it. That's why. Yeah. And honestly, it's a job a woman my age has no business taking. But every year I finish it and I survive and I think, that wasn't that bad. I could do that again.
Yeah, and then 12 months later, you just kind of get amnesia and you're like, oh, yeah, it's not that bad. And then, yeah.
Yeah, sort of like childbirth, right, Heather?
Yeah. Yeah, but I only did that twice. You have to do this every day, every year.
Here's the thing about this. If you guys aren't hip to this, when you're in Sturgis, every day, every morning, you can pick up a brand new and fresh off the press Buffalo Chip Gazette, and it is for real live journalism. Like, this is as close to back in the 20s of, scoop dailies and shit like that as you'll ever possibly get in journalism today.
Well, and it's a crazy thing, but it's really so much fun, and it lets the Chips say we're the only campground in the world with our own daily paper.
Yeah.
Qualified during the rally. But we get a lot of stuff done ahead, and, I just wait until the photographers come in when the headliner finishes.
Yeah.
So that'll be about midnight or 12:30, and we plug in that last image, of the headliner, and then we go to press. And once I'm sure that the printer has it, I'm allowed to sleep for about 3.5 hours, and then I've got to be out there at the crossroads at 5 a.m. to make sure nothing's upside down or backwards, or at least if it is, so I know it before anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about the conversation that got you into doing this. I want to know what Woody promised you, because this is a deal with the devil. Let's be honest. I mean, my God, that's got to be crazy, nuts, insane work.
I had no idea what I was getting into. It's a lot like Ironworks, You get these charming men like Dennis Stemp and Woody, and they say, "Wouldn't this be cool? Hey, Marilyn, wouldn't this be fun?"
Baby, don't listen to her. Don't.
Some ridiculous thing.
Oh.
Yeah, Heather.
Oh, I totally get it. His starts with, "Hey, baby," and I just put my head down. I'm like, oh, God.
Mine is, "Hey, I need to talk to you about something."
Oh. "Hey, what do you think of this?" And I'm like, oh, good Lord.
How much is this going to cost me?
There you go.
Oh, I'm like, all right, Rainbow Chaser, go.
At the same time, as if this wasn't enough for your duties for the daily, you're also putting on the Builder's Breakfast. You also help out with, so many other things like inside and outside of the Buffalo Chip. You're involved with the museum. I mean, you are the poster child
there's
for...
that daily bike show.
Yeah.
The daily bike show at the Chip can be a killer, too.
You are the poster child for overachievement, my dear.
Can you tell us a little bit about that Flying Pistons breakfast? Because it does go to a good cause, correct?
It does. And, we started out doing it for tech ed scholarships. And, it was initially related to the Buffalo Chip Challenge, where the kids from the high schools around the Black Hills region would build a couple of bikes. And, we wanted those kids to keep pursuing, metal fab or mechanical work or something related to motorcycling. And so the idea was to dredge up some money to give a couple of them some scholarship money to go to, MMI or somewhere. And as we moved on from that, and that program sort of changed, we kind of became a little more hip to, like, veterans coming back with some issues and wanting to kind of re-enter society and work life in a different way after their experiences, in Iraq and Afghanistan. And, biking and the military has always been so closely aligned. Jeff Nager, who's my partner in that enterprise, he said, "Marilyn, let's look at some veterans options, some ways that we can, help some high school kids, but let's help some veterans who want to get into biking too." And so last year, we actually were lucky enough to run into Krystal Hess, who does motorcycle missions.
She's our next guest, actually.
Oh, that's perfect. Yep. And, she's just so inspirational, the work that she does. And it was really the perfect place for doing this. So now that's where most of our money goes, although we still try to give a local scholarship to a high school kid as long as we get a reference from, an administrator or an instructor out there in the bike hills.
Right on.
So
That's
just
great.
and I mean, I hate to sound sales pitchy, but the Flying Pistons breakfast is held on the first Sunday of Sturgis. It's a breakfast with the invited builders for this year. It will be passion built, but you also hold some auctions. People throughout the industry donate parts and apparel and artwork where anybody can come and bid. And the tickets for the Flying Pistons breakfast, if I remember correctly, $20. Is that correct, Marilyn?
Yeah, just $20, and you get breakfast. I think we're going to try and do waffles this year. We're going to have Brad Gregory come out and design some custom waffles for us.
Jesus.
Right on. So if you're in Sturgis and you want to support a cool cause and you want to meet some of the builders that are part of Motorcycles at Art Gallery first Sunday, you should be there. Marilyn will be there. I know that for sure. I think Chris will be there.
Yep.
Ken will be there. And a whole bunch of other cool people. So
Right on. Well, Marilyn, I'm gonna
thanks for
ask,
bringing that up, Chris.
I'm gonna ask
I just
you.
wanted to thank Heather for giving us all that good background.
Oh, right on. She's better than me and Ken.
not
Yeah,
really.
She
indeed.
is. So I'm gonna ask you to look over your career. First of all, tell me what was issue 1, volume 1, issue 1 of Ironworks. When did it go to press?
We had our
excuse
first
me,
issue.
Iron Trader News before it was Ironworks.
Oh, that was in October of '89.
So from '89 to today, tell me, because I know you've had you've been everywhere, you've met everybody. Everybody loves you and holds you in such high regard. But what do you hold of all the time that you've been in and around the motorcycle industry and culture? What is your defining moment? What's the best thing that you hold in your memory?
Oh, gosh, that'd be like picking a favorite kid. It's really hard to say. I prize my relationships with so many amazing people, and really to call any of them out would be kind of ridiculous. But what I most often think about is how different it would have been if Dennis had hung around longer.
Yeah.
I kind of got pushed into being like the spearhead of the thing, and it was never my forte. And so I usually just kind of think about how different things could have been, maybe how much more ground we could have covered, or, how much better we could have been if he'd been around to kind of to lead us a little bit. Because he was the philosopher,
Yeah.
He's the guy that kind of kept the image true and the motive straight. So I was raising two kids and getting distracted,
Well, I was just going to bring that up. I think that boot camp that you went through with the kids and the bills and the house and the keeping it all together while you were helping with the magazine, I think that probably put you in the best position to actually take the reins when it was time. Because I liken my job to taking care of a bunch of children and cleaning house and.
Well,
yeah, that's probably true.
Heather's like,
Be nice
I'm
now.
not the child.
I forgot. Ken
I think
continue.
You're the child.
Be nice.
real quick, I do need to get this in. Marilyn, Mark Velasquez would love to send you a canvas for the Flying Pistons breakfast, so get in touch with him if you think of it.
Oh, what a sweetheart. I definitely will.
Excellent.
We've been secretly referring to Mark Velasquez for a few months now as Gilbert Godfrey from Long Island.
Yeah, that works.
I'm sure he's going to be thrilled that I said that on the
No,
broadcast.
he thinks it's cool. He actually told me that now that he's Gilbert Godfrey, Gilbert's gone gangsta. How Mark V is gangsta, I don't know, but whatever works, Mark.
Right on. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show with us, and man, just congratulations, because for motorcycle bums like us, getting the recognition of the Hall of Fame that's our gold watch. That's our lifetime achievement, and congratulations to you.
Sure.
I have
Well, thank you both so much. Thank you all so much.
one more thing that I have to say. Nikki Martin from Roy's Toys out in Denver, she just said, Marilyn, I need to thank you for being such an inspiration to me and a driving force behind me in the industry. So from Nikki, thank you.
Right on.
Oh, how sweet. And that reminds me, all the young builders from Motorcycles as Art last year, Well, boy, did they expand my world. It was such a thrill to meet all of them. And they're all invited back to the breakfast this year as special guests. So, we just want to keep that circle going.
There you go. There you go. Well, we'll definitely be looking forward to spending some time with you before Sturgis and definitely at Sturgis if we can squeeze you away from all your many responsibilities there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks so much for having me on. Great to talk to you guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Marilyn.
All right.
Okay. Talk
See
to
you, Marilyn.
Soon. So awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, this is as good as it gets for me. Like getting an opportunity to say congratulations from all of us, you know, because I'm for sure in no position to turn around to somebody like Marilyn and say, good job, you did a good job there. But, you know, to be in a position where we can share everybody's accolades is as good as it gets as a journalist. So
agreed. Hey, let's do a little real quick before we go on to Krystal. I know people probably think that I'm some sort of shill for a rye because I've got their hat on. Right? Shill. But I'm not. I just went to their launch. You're going to read more about it in the magazine. But this is the Classic V.
Wow,
helmet.
dude, I didn't even
Isn't
know
that
Ryan
nice?
made a helmet like that.
You weren't paying attention last week when we talked about it.
Yeah, I really wasn't. You did.
Come on,
Way to
Smart-
go, Chris.
Come on, smarty pants.
We were on air.
So the cool thing is it's actually vented. It's got 3 vents, 1, 2, 3, and they come out the back, which maybe you can see there.
Yeah.
Ooh, I would like one.
It's got these little air vents here. I have not ridden with it yet, so I can't give you a full-on review, but there will be one in the magazine soon. And what I can tell you is that they gave us the opportunity to get on a flat track with Johnny Lewis, and they gave us their spiel about safety and helmets and what they put into it. It's family owned, and I was astounded at how much technology they put into every helmet, and just some of the great imagery that they showed us of the founder and that sort of stuff. So that's the Classic V. There's also a full face called the Defiant X, and they are specifically meant for us.
Right on.
For the cruiser market, you know, for the V-twin, you know, cafe racer kind of market. So
cruiser market is a good way to say
I think
dirtbags.
You know, there's what?
I said cruiser market is a good way to say dirtbags.
Yeah.
You dirty bikers.
Exactly. But they're great. It seems like a really great helmet. So just wanted to put that out there. They are definitely on the pricier side, but there's a reason for it. You know, it's like, you know, cheap tattoos aren't good, and good tattoos aren't cheap.
There you go.
You can replace a helmet. You can't replace your head.
Correct. And they had some gnarly crashes they showed us, which I talked about last week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Here, watch
with
this
helmets.
crash.
You said it was actually a little unsettling.
Oh no, it was very unsettling. Yeah. So, but it was cool. Anyway, I'll see if I can actually get that promo video that they showed us, and maybe we can get it up on the Cycle Source page.
Okay, so I've been waiting to do this ever since we got the show launched today. Real quick, one of our favorite things to do from time to time is a particular news feature we call Batshit Crazy News. And in today's Batshit Crazy News, it's been announced that Harley-Davidson is bringing flat track racing to India. Two-wheel dirt oval competition comes to the capital of India's Rajasthan state. Not to be confused with Kyrgyzstan or Kazakhstan, which I understand is very great for flat track racing.
Christopher.
Come on, I don't have my slingshot on.
You have to listen. You have to remember that people all over the world watch our program.
Yeah,
I know, man. And listen, I think it's great. I understand that India is an exploding market for motorcycling, but I got to tell you, this is the thing that I worry about, is that just like most things with the motorcycle industry, we find something that's unique and cool and starts working good, and then they beat it over the fucking head like a baby seal.
Dude, your mouth.
Well, I gotta say that. I gotta use that word there because it's the truth. Like, there is flat track racing everywhere right now. I'm waiting for the space station that's coming into reorbit. I'm waiting for a flat track racer to jump out in a little exit capsule.
Hey, you flat track at BMR.
I know.
Yeah,
Come on, dude.
Simmer down, Chris. Jeez. What is your problem?
But okay.
Do you have too much coffee? How much coffee do you have today?
I had a little bit.
Let's just say he counts his coffee as water.
I'm just saying that there's been flat track racing for quite a while in India. It looks a little different than what we're used to here in the United States. There's different classes. But...
Oh my good lord.
What
Okay.
are you talking about?
Never mind.
You are making things up.
No, you'll see when you watch the show, Ken.
Okay, back to
please.
more batshit crazy news. Homeless man accused of stealing Harley following motorcycle crash. What kind of balls do you have to be to see someone whisked away from a motorcycle wreck and you run out and steal their crashed motorcycle? But it really happened. Ocala, Florida. Florida's, shit's tough down in Florida, baby.
I couldn't imagine it happening in Florida. Have you ever listened to what was it? Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla or whatever? They used to do Germany or Florida, and you had to guess. They would read you the headline.
Get out of
the
here.
news thing, and you'd have to decide whether it was Germany or Florida.
No.
Yeah, it was pretty great. You gotta look up like the best of Germany or Florida, because there are some humdingers.
Dude,
in
that's
there.
brilliant.
That's right.
That
I
is
just
brilliant.
use the old timey word humdinger.
Do you know, my daughter uses that word. She talks like an 80-year-old woman. I don't know where she came from. It's crazy. But
She really
I've
does.
heard her use humdinger before.
She really does. And when she's surprised about
You're
something,
proud.
she'll say, "Oh my, oh my."
Or, oh dear.
I
She's
can't wait to
20
see her
years
this
old.
summer. That's gonna
Oh
be great.
dear.
And I've got that bike. Now I can make sure she brings her motorcycle helmet.
Oh, I will for sure.
I'll go up there and visit her, and we'll go for a ride somewhere in the mountains of Aspen.
Oh, she'll love it. She's so excited. She's really excited about whitewater rafting.
Nice. Very cold.
Okay,
So
so
cool.
you bastards
Why?
don't appreciate my humor. Don't appreciate
Everybody
my...
else on Facebook appreciated it, just so you know.
How can I appreciate it when I can't see it?
What? Where's your social
didn't-
media monitoring device?
You didn't prep me and say, laugh now. I'm like, I can only imagine. It probably looked like a circus or something.
It was kind of like that.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Listen, forward your death threats to me. There's one over here, right?
What? Yeah.
We're never gonna get Royal Enfield to sponsor us now. Nice job.
Way to go, Chris.
They were so close.
Listen, have you tried to make a chopper out of a Royal Enfield?
What's his name?
Take the skinny mini. Oh, no, it's on your desk.
Who?
Pat Jansen,
Jansen.
Sin Central
Your MC.
Garage.
Yep.
Yes. He did the skinny mini with a Royal Enfield.
Yeah. How come I've never seen that bike?
It was that Mama Tried.
Yeah. Well, guess who wasn't at Mama Tried? This guy.
Any of us?
Ha!
That's right.
So, and by the way, it's $5 for using that name on the show.
It was at a couple of the IMS shows too. Sorry.
I got to show you, because I was talking before about how Marilyn was instrumental in keeping me from putting a bullet in my head through the long night transitions from regional to national magazine. This is one of my all-time favorite hate mails. And it's actually hate mail and love mail. I don't know how much you can see this. I actually took this one and framed it because it's so bizarre. This guy every once in a while will write to me, and he actually cuts people's heads out of the magazine and then makes little word balloons beside them.
And he'll say things like, please let me kill this guy, and it's a picture of Chris.
Oh, yeah. And then he tells me how much he loves the magazine and stuff. So
Yeah.
I hope this didn't actually, spur him into action, but...
Yeah, it's been a while.
This
Way
is
to
one,
go.
listen, of the many things I collect in my office, this is one of my prized possessions. So thank you
That's
very much for
weird.
the letters.
Keep them coming. Or not.
Oh, shit. Well, we're getting long
How
in the
about
tooth here.
Crystal?
Yeah,
Yeah, we are. Yeah, let's get Krystal on.
we probably should.
Mm-hmm.
you doing? You're on the air with Chris and Ken.
Hi, Chris and Ken.
Hi, Krystal.
I was going to tell you
wow,
guys,
her connection is way better than
bedtime.
Marilyn's. She must not be in the middle of South Dakota.
It's past your bedtime?
Yeah. When you were talking, I was like, man, hurry up. It's almost my bedtime. No, you guys are all good. I've been enjoying it. And it's such a tough act to follow Marilyn. For goodness sakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen,
So thanks for that.
tell me, I think Ironworks was approaching 15 years or something when I first started publishing my magazine, and they were originally Iron Trader News was out of Pittsburgh. So I've been following that act for as long as I've been doing this gig.
It's pretty awesome.
I'm not sure where you learned your math, but if she started in 89 and you started in 97, it's not 15 years, big fish.
This is the value of having a good woman at your side all the time, Ken. In case you were wondering,
yeah,
there it is right there. Played out.
Yeah,
live.
just calls you out, says, no, not 15 years, only 7.
Right? Yeah.
Nice work.
So, Krystal, let's talk about you.
All right.
We want to get to motorcycle missions, but you're the hot topic, you're hot product for the work that you've been doing with that. I want to start the program off with talking about you all the way at the beginning of where does Krystal Hess get into motorcycles? Where do you come from?
So, do you want like the extended version or
Yes.
like the really short version?
No, man, we got all the time you need.
No, the extended version. Because these days, we actually have to prove our pedigree in order to be in the motorcycle industry, apparently.
I got it. Okay.
That's a joke, Krystal.
All right. I'm learning your sense of humor. Well, so my journey into motorcycles is totally unexpected. Most people don't get into it the way that I did. I would almost say it's kind of like a baptized by fire kind of thing. But so I moved down to the U.S. Was born in Canada and raised there, and I moved to Texas in 2011 after leaving my ex. I just had a really rough marriage up there. It wasn't going well. There was a little bit of abuse. After 9 years, I decided I'd had enough of that. I had also had enough of the ice and snow up there. I was going to take advantage of my dual citizenship that I have in the U.S. because I have a lot of family here. And I was going to move down to Texas. So my next relationship that I got into when I moved down here was with a guy that liked motorcycles. And he lived in Dallas and he liked kind of like more of the sport bike scene. And growing up, I was really into cars, and I loved cars, and nobody in my family, and I have a huge family, gave a crap about cars. So I basically had nobody really to connect with on that passion. So I just found myself doing what I could by myself and customizing my car, with all the accessories I could put on it. This to give you an idea of what that looked like. It was during the Fast and the Furious days. So if you can just imagine a kid in high school customizing their car, it was in that era. So, but I really enjoyed that, and that was my hobby. But I went into nursing school, and I was working in a hospital up there when I moved down here. And so I was my plan was just to come down here and continue my nursing. I had zero plans on doing anything motorcycle related. I had never ridden a motorcycle before. I had been on the back of one before, but I'd never actually knew how to ride. So, but this guy that I had a relationship with, I didn't know that he was bipolar. And he and I were working on a motorcycle together. So, and I loved it because I liked cars and liked working on them. I was super fascinated by this guy. First of all, he had that really charming Texan accent that I, barely ever hear up in Canada. So that was amazing. And then plus he digs motorcycles, and I thought I could get into this for sure. So I actually invested a little bit of money in it to have the experience and to learn a little bit. So so that's kind of where some of my money went. And then I found out the hard way that he was bipolar, and he also was going to try and take his life one night. And that impacted me in a huge way because he involved me in that process on that day. And I was very traumatized by that. And he wasn't successful, fortunately, but he was hospitalized for a period of time. and then had some rehab, and then I know he had quite a few physical challenges that came with that as well because of his injuries. But we couldn't talk after that. Our families just thought it was better, and plus all the crap I had gone through previous to that, everybody was like freaking out and like, just don't even go there. So I abandoned that relationship, and just basically, I don't know. I kind of say, like, it was my 30th birthday when this happened, and I just found myself, I was on the couch pretty much sucking my thumb, not able to move. I was just paralyzed with, like, just the worst emotions you've ever felt in your life. And I ended up going through some counseling down in Texas, and that was like almost immediately after this happened. And then once I felt strong enough, I went to the storage unit where the insurance company was storing my stuff, and it included the motorcycle that he and I were working on. And I hadn't realized what had all had happened, but in his like meltdown that he had taken the motorcycle we were working on. It was 75% done, and he tore it apart. I don't know why he did it. I don't know, I don't know what was going through his mind at the time, but I mean, I don't think he was, he wasn't right. So the bike was in a million pieces, and there was blood on it, and I had motorcycle parts and in this storage unit scattered everywhere. I had powder coating equipment and a tire machine. I had all sorts of stuff, and I'm a nurse. And I don't know anything about this. Like, I'm looking through the stuff, and I'm like, what is this? Like, I didn't know, what a swing arm was, or what an axle, on a motorcycle really was. Like, what does the brake caliper look like on a motorcycle? So I learned about motorcycles through cleaning up this mess and trying to pick my life back up together. And I ended up, because for lack of options, and the insurance company would only help me put this motorcycle back to stock, and it was a show bike. This bike was not going to be a stock motorcycle. It was going to be a custom. It was a turbocharged Hayabusa, which is not something I would typically work on now, but that was what I had. The first bike that I ever owned was a turbocharged Suzuki Hayabusa, and so I decided after going on a vacation to Thailand with my best friend to kind of just get my head right, that I would come back and try and find somebody to help me rebuild the bike, because the insurance company wasn't going to give me what it was worth. They wanted to put it back to stock. So I spent the summer. I found a guy in Austin area here to help me put the bike back together. He owned a motorcycle shop, and I spent my summer putting this bike back together. And when it was done, I looked, stood back from it. I put the last little finishing touches on it, and I had closure, which is something on that whole scenario I didn't have before. So this motorcycle, in the process of putting it back together, I really didn't realize how therapeutic it was, and just the amount of relief and closure it would give me when it was finished. And I was really proud of what I did, and I loved the experience. I loved learning about motorcycles. And so there I had my show bike, and I named it the Crusader because, it had been through a lot, and it survived, and it got through quite the ordeal. And I had a gentleman in the Grand Cayman Islands buy it from me, and he still has it to this day. So that was in 2012 when that happened.
Well,
and then
and one second. This is first of all, thank you so much for sharing that story with us, because I know that's a really heavy thing to deliver just in an open forum like this. And I was lucky enough a few months ago, we actually did a quick article on your motorcycle missions efforts in Cycle Source magazine, and I got to get this story from you, and I was hoping that this is what we would, by starting this talk, this is the direction that would take, because I think it's important to build the picture of who you are and how you came upon the idea of motorcycle missions this way, because it's so easy, like Ken said, we have to qualify ourselves today. And that's the dangers and perils of social media and everybody being Insta famous. It would be so easy for people to say, well, there's this girl and, she does something with a military charity, and it's so much more truer a purpose that you're on and the way that you came about it, that I really wanted people to get to know you a little bit through that story.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's a story that when I was going through it was not very fun. But I mean, now when I look back, I'm kind of in disbelief that that pain that I went through has brought me to where I'm at today. But that one bike was just the start of many things to come that I didn't even realize were going to happen. So with that bike, I decided that summer that I wanted to do more bikes and learn more about bikes. So I stuck around this motorcycle shop. The owner gave me some work to do, and he decided it would be a cool idea for me to do the Rika series bikes, those kits that you can buy for Suzuki Savages.
Yeah.
So it was his idea. He's like, this would be a really good place to learn because, like they're kit bikes and you can take them all apart and put them all together. So for fun, we got 5 of them and 5 kits. They sell like a scrambler, a tracker, a bobber, a cafe racer. I bought all of the kits and I decided to make a theme bike of each. And that was when I decided to pick up the powder coating gun that I had been left with and learn how to powder coat. So I started with, my own parts on the bikes that I was working with, and I was learning as I was taking the bikes together and putting them back together, how to mask the motorcycle, which parts can't have foot coating on them, how they connect, and that taught me a lot about the bikes. And then, I started powder coating for the guy down the street and then the shop down the corner. And then the next thing I knew, within a year, I was powder coating for Ferrari of Austin and the Ducati dealership. Yeah. And I powder coat for Harley Davidson. So, I mean, done lots of powder coating. I've done really well at that, and I've been really proud of my accomplishment with that. But that is where I got a lot of my motorcycle experience and connections. So, like, I went to bike nights. I started going to bike nights, handing out my cards, and I got connected with sport bike groups and other, all sorts of groups all around the city, and got to know the members and ended up being their powder coater. I was the motorcycle powder coater, and so that really got me connected in my community. But then also too, like, I kept working on bikes. So after that Rika series, I picked up another one and then another one. And then I think it was like my 8th or 9th bike that I did. I met this gentleman named David Roy, Voodoo Vintage here in Austin. Yep. He's an amazing fabricator, and he and I commissioned him to help me work on a bike that I did for 40 Creek Whiskey, which is a whiskey company. And I really liked Dave's style. I thought his bikes were so cool, and I wanted him to help me, do this bike for 40 Creek Whiskey. So he had he makes frames and like hardtails and front ends and tanks and things. And so he made one specifically for me. And then I took the frame and all that home, and I powder coated everything. And then I put it together in my garage with my buddy Jake. And then that one started to win. That one won a few awards locally. And a couple of my bikes have been in hand-built show. I did my Indian Scout was in the hand-built show. It also went to Daytona for a guy versus girl Indian motorcycles.net build-off. Mm-hmm. And so like those were, I don't know how many bikes that is in, but then that kind of led me to this time period where I was kind of getting sick of powder coating. I kind of knew it was not something I wanted to do forever. For one, it's terrible for your health, and me being a nurse, it just seemed like, total dichotomy of, I'm supposed to be a smart nurse who knows better, and this stuff is actually poison, and I'm breathing it in every day. And even though I wear the masks and all the protective gear I'm going home with, I somehow get powder in my nose and powder in my ears, and I end up with crazy burns on my body because I accidentally bumped something, or so I knew that was not going to be something I wanted to do forever. So I kind of knew it was kind of a stepping stone for something greater, and I didn't know what that was. I just kind of had faith that it would present itself. But I have a huge history of doing humanitarian work. I've done a lot of nursing. I did a nursing stint in Honduras, and I've been in Mexico a few times, and Cambodia, doing some work with an orphanage there. And so this stuff is in my heart. It's helping others and helping them heal has been a big thing of mine, and a big passion of mine. And I found that with motorcycles being so therapeutic for me, that I was, healing people, but I was also able to heal motorcycles. Like I was fixing motorcycles and making them new and healthy again. And I went and saw a documentary that my friend Stan and his buddies did called Project 22, and it's about the veteran suicide rate in our country. And I have a lot of veteran friends, being from Texas. There's bases here everywhere. And I ride with a lot of them, and motorcycles are their therapy. And after this documentary, I was moved by it, so much so that I went home that night and I purchased the domain motorcyclemissions.com. It's just something that I knew would be my next chapter, and I want to help veterans with PTSD, dealing with a lot of the things that I've experienced, going through what I've gone through with the abusive marriage, and then through the suicide, and then kind of healing after that. Just knowing how therapeutic the build process was, and the also the riding process.
Well, and talk for a second about that. Like, where was or what was the first time that you really saw the effects of the idea that you had, that this would be something that was going to be therapeutic for another person who went through a different form of, PTSD than what you did? But when you saw that play out, like, talk about that for a minute, because that had to be, helping other people is the greatest gift that you can get out of life. Mm-hmm. And that had to be something like such an arrival.
It was, and it was that night. Like that night after that movie premiere, I knew that was it. I absolutely 100% knew that was it. I had taken some of my veteran friends to that premiere. I hadn't even seen it. I was just going on the recommendation of my friends, and it's actually two of my buddies who are in it. And I hadn't met them yet. I met them after the movie, because I went to California to meet them. But they're two veterans, and one of them tried to kill himself, and the other one, his buddy, kind of stepped in and saved his life. And after that, they both decided to take motorcycles and ride across the country in 22 days, stopping in 22 cities to raise awareness for suicide prevention.
And that Project 22 and the significance of the 22, that's something that's really heavy. I'm gonna let you talk about that for a minute, because that's a startling statistic.
It is, and it was 22 veterans a day that commit suicide, and there's 3 EMS and EMT, like first responders, that commit suicide a day. And I've actually just recently received some information that number is closer to 20 now. So a lot of the efforts I think that we're doing are paying off. But it's still a startling statistic. And when you think about these guys, what they go through, what they see and endure, they're expected to be tough. They're expected to have this muscle and this, they're Americans, and they're brave. And people don't understand that mental health and the way that those kinds of scenes and situations that they experience when they're over there, what they can do to their mental well-being. And then they come home and their families are just expecting them to kind of pick up where they left off. And that's just not how it works. These guys will see a rock on the side of the road and think, they'll get a flashback of, an explosive device, or, they're having to take other routes and, other than how they would normally drive, they would take a different route because, the other route reminds them of a road they drove down one day. And one of the veterans that we're involved with, when he laces up his shoes, he feels blood on his boots.
Jesus.
So I mean, these guys experience things that many of us don't understand, and it's not like a heart attack or like a broken bone that you can see with an X-ray. I mean, this is a person's brain, and that affects everything. So if we can, like me, I mean, I was broken. I was severely broken. I was at my wit's end and not wanting, really just frustrated with life on planet Earth in general myself. And I honestly credit the motorcycle for being there for me. That being something to keep my hands busy, something for me to look forward to doing, something, the people that I get to see at a bike night, I get to look forward to riding there to see them and building new friendships. And I know more people in Austin, Texas in the 7 years I've lived here than I have in Canada my entire life.
Yeah.
And that's just through motorcycling. So it's the build, it's the camaraderie that comes with it. The reason why I wanted to do motorcycle missions is to give these guys an opportunity, because I knew at that point I had done enough work and had enough contacts that I could make this a very impactful program, not just some guys working in someone's garage, putting aftermarket parts on a Sportster or something. I knew that I could give them an experience after everything that I've accomplished, something a little bit bigger than that. Give them an experience that they never would have normally ever had. So let's build show quality motorcycles. We want to show you how to build a motorcycle that will turn heads, and you get to look at it and go, holy crap, I built that. And you get to see it, in shows and in magazines and whatever.
Well, and in the Chicago show, you guys took that to the absolute top of the pile.
Well, yeah, and I didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, fantastic.
But I said, yeah, so when we built the bike, we had blueprints, basically. A veteran had donated his 1974 shovel head that he couldn't ride anymore because he broke his back in the Navy. And he donated it to us because he knew that we would, he trusted that we were going to repurpose it and do something great with it. And we took apart the motor and completely rebuilt it, and then built a whole new frame around it, the front end, the oil tank, the number plate, even the fender struts. We took a lowbrow customs fender and cut it up and made it our own, and we made this really little badass board track bike. And I don't think the vets really, because they, when they think of a motorcycle, they aren't thinking of a board tracker. So I think they were having a little trouble on this build particular trusting us.
Yeah. But
in the end, I mean, they were blown away, and I hear them in their stories sometimes, but we've been on the news about 3 or 4 times just about this bike by itself, and it's been really fun. Me hearing the veterans talking to the news channels about, when they found out we won, I jumped up and down, and these are the reactions I don't see, and then these guys get to come and enjoy their handiwork at the the hand-built show, and they get to, we have a bike build that we're doing right now. Lincoln Electric is helping us with, and we're building that one for the hand-built show. And so that's another experience that they'll have, and Coda's stepping in and hooking the guys up with tickets. And so, they get a whole new experience out of it, and they get to see something about motorcycles they've never seen before,
So exactly. So how does Motorcycle Missions funded? Like, how does that work? It sounds like, you had that motorcycle donated, but I've seen other bikes that have been donated as well. Do you guys refurbish those and then sell them, or how does it work?
Well, I'll tell you this right now. Today I went down to the DMV and I spent a couple hours titling a few bikes that we got. Motorcycle Missions, because of the work that we do, I mean, it appears that we have a boatload of money, but I'll tell you right now, every dollar we have in our bank account, we did a fundraiser for. I attend numerous fundraisers in Austin for veterans. We do, like I set up a tent, and we'll have a bikini bike wash or something. We had one last October that a group of veterans put on for us, and we've had other veteran nonprofits raise money. It's like usually $500 here, $2,000 here. During South by, we had a local restaurant that had bands going through their restaurant during South by Southwest. They took donations at the door for us, so that's another $3,000. We don't. My office is my living room, and we have volunteers. None of us are paid. I'm not paid. The two fabricators, Chris Moose and David Roy, they're not paid. We do this volunteer. I'm finding I'm spending about 30 hours a week now on it, and that's kind of cutting into my ability to earn money. But the bikes themselves, this one was the first bike. This Porterfield, the 74 shovel, was the first bike we ever got donated. We have a 2001 Harley Road King that's been donated to us, and then we just had two little 1982 vintage Kawasaki's donated. So basically, right now, those are all sitting in my garage, taking up space.
Hey, real quick while you're talking, Manny Pandia was the man on the trigger, and hurried up and got us some pictures from the IMS courtesy International Motorcycle Shows of the board track bike and little Yamaha that you guys built for the whiskey company.
Creek.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so cool. Thanks, Manny.
Yep.
Yeah, but like I basically, how I have to do it, Ken, is like, now that Porterfield, this bike is done, then I have to fundraise for the next bike. So I'm so for this next project, I actually don't know what it's going to be. Right now we're finishing up the one that we're doing, that we have a Triumph build that we're doing. And we were blessed to have Lincoln come along and sponsor that build. So without them, that bike would not be built right now. The next bike, I don't know what it's going to be, because I have to raise the money to build it. So it depends on, what we can get together fund-wise, parts-wise. Our donations, especially in the parts industry, are growing. Like, we're getting a lot of parts sponsors. We don't have a lot of cash sponsors, which is really what we need all of it, but the cash is kind of lacking, because that helps us pay for things, like I had brochures and other things like our insurance policy and things that we need to keep it going. But that's how it's funded.
Do you sell the bikes when you're done with them?
The first bike we built, we gave it away to another veteran. So that bike went to another veteran. Porterfield is going to stay with us for a while, and she's going to be shown for a bit. Now, the thing about her is I don't think your average Joe could ride this bike. It doesn't, where your brake would normally be is actually the throttle. So I could see, somebody who's not very experienced, needing to stop grabbing a whole handle of throttle instead of brake. Yeah. It's a race bike. It's really a show bike. It's super awesome. I mean, there's going to be, Brittany at one point mentioned riding, Brittany Olson mentioned riding it, but I don't think she realized it was a twin. But there's going to be somebody out there that'll ride. But for right now, it's a show bike. We're going to enjoy it for a little bit, let other people enjoy it for a bit, and we might either raffle it off or sell it. And then that money will go back into the program. And if that happens, that'll be the first time that a motorcycle, we would have sold a motorcycle and been able to put money back in the program because of the bike.
Right on.
So,
very cool.
Yeah.
So a couple things.
Yes.
Number one, I want to thank you personally. I have currently 5 Marines in my family, my son being one of them. I'm also very blessed to have a Purple Heart recipient in my family. So on behalf of my family, thank you for everything you do for the veterans and for the first responders. If people want to make a donation, How do they do that? Where do they send it? Is there a website they can make a donation on? Share that information, because there's, 3,000 people are watching this show at this very minute. Let them know how they can help you help others.
We have a website. It's motorcycle-missions.org, and there's a donate button on there. You can donate through there. If you want to send a check, you can just email me at info@motorcyclemissions.com, and I'll send you my address. In addition, I didn't even get to touch on this, but we also do motocross camps for the vets too. So we have a track here in Austin, and a championship rider that coaches. That's what he does through the MX factory, and we have about between 4 and 6 vets at a time. We'll go out and spend the afternoon with him and learn how to ride dirt bikes too. But that's all part of our program, the Build Mentorship program, and that also includes like welding and fabricating, in addition to the bike building. So we host like welding classes every now and again. As many guys as we can impact, as many guys as we can get out and working on these bikes. And then the other part that people don't see too, that I see every time we get together, is the camaraderie that these guys have. What's really cool is, like, on the weekend, a whole bunch of us went for a ride. That if it wasn't for Motorcycle Missions, we wouldn't have ever done that. So it's creating a community, it's creating a family, it's giving a lot of these guys a reason to get out. And we have guys that on the first and second build that have come back and want to work on the next ones, And so we're building a really big family, and these are all just guys that didn't know that they needed this kind of distraction. And then in the end, they walk out of it with new friendships and relationships and new skills that they can be proud of. So, and some of these guys, like the championship win, those guys all got plaques and
obviously
and
we keep talking about the big win for you guys in Chicago. That was at the International Motorcycle Show. You guys took home the highest honor, and a $10,000 check that went along with it. That I'm sure the program is going to benefit from, and we couldn't be more proud of the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Definitely.
We actually already allocated that $10,000 and bought a very much needed motorcycle trailer, because we'd been using a 2-rail Kendon, and putting show bikes like Porterfield on a 2-rail Kendon wasn't going to work up to Chicago. So
right on.
In the snow. So yeah, like I said, with every little bit that goes in our bank, we are putting it to good use and using it for things that we need. And appreciate people like you guys spreading the word about what we do and encouraging others to help. And
absolutely.
I wouldn't be here, in the motorcycle industry doing this if I didn't have people like you guys to look up to either. So thank you very much for that.
Well, we really appreciate you having you on, and you taking the time to kind of spread the good word about Motorcycle Missions. So anything that we can do to help, just let us know. We're around. You know how to get a hold of us.
Of course.
And I'm sure you're going to have a really busy year this year, but we'll give you a little bit of time out on the road with that motorcycle, hit a couple shows, and we'll check back in and see what your progress is on with the bike at the shows and with Motorcycle Missions. And until then, you guys take a minute. The work that they're doing with Motorcycle Missions is really like critical work. Get involved. If you have some parts, if you have a connection, if you have a couple bucks to throw at this thing, this is the kind of, people talk about community direct charity. Like this is somebody who went through a horrible experience, not only turned that horrible experience into good constructive work through the metaphysics of motorcycling, but then is lending that to other people that, may have not had another outlet. So get involved. If you can help out, go check them out at motorcycle-missions.org. Don't let an opportunity like this go by if you can get something to them.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Krystal.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Right on. See, and that's, here is a person that you can, for all effective terms, you can refer to her as a millennial. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I mean, seriously, This is not a person who's interested in our culture or, the stuff that we do. I don't know.
Yeah. Probably doing more in the motorcycle industry in terms of having, a personal connection with people than you or I, just
Absolutely.
Going out and talking to people and,
Absolutely.
having that positive influence and taking, like you said, that experience that she, that she had and then making it into something good. I think that's, that honestly, that's a lot of the key to life, isn't it?
Yep.
So
Sure.
David Roy is watching. He's Voodoo Vintage. He just wanted to personally say Krystal's Motorcycles mission has been the best thing to happen in his life on a personal level. Thank you, Krystal. He's so happy to be involved. Moose, you're a little biased. He says that Krystal's the bee's knees. Manny says Krystal's an angel in the industry and her passion inspires him every day. And there's just a bunch of thank yous for doing what she does. And I hope to see it grow. I really, really do. Because like I said, on a personal level, I'm glad it's there.
Right on.
For sure.
And I knew this was going to be a super strong show. Having both of these, I mean, these are two great examples of strong women in motorcycling today. You know what
Agreed.
I mean? And like, I knew this was going to be a killer show for that, and I appreciate both of them. I am going to flip through some stuff real fast just so we have an opportunity to talk about stuff.
Well,
I know.
And I think it's important also that we point out, that. I had brought up bringing women on as guests, and you just kind of poo-pooed it. You were like, I don't want any women motorcyclists on here.
No, I'll tell you what.
I'm totally kidding.
No,
totally
listen.
kidding.
No, listen. Bring the truth, baby, because it is. And
No.
I'll tell you this. This is an example of two strong women with purpose in the motorcycle industry. What I was poo-pooing on was the idea of because I have a vagina, I should be special. No, you're not special because of what you have between your legs or on your back or anything like that. You're special. The definition
Why can't we
of
keep
that,
it PG-13?
The definition of that comes from what you do. What do you do? What have you done?
No, agreed. And that's and there's so many women out there that are, a positive influence, and that's really kind of what I was getting after was, we've had a lot of we've had a lot of shows. I've had right now I just put up the 80th episode of the Forever Two Wheels podcast. And one of those is actually a long form interview with Marilyn Stemp from a few years ago in Daytona. So you can check, I don't know what number it was, but really a lot more kind of information about her past, her history. I think, as a matter of fact, I get a little choked up maybe in there. It was a really good interview.
She's a serious person, man.
And so to have, and I remember having those conversations with her and Shelley Rossmeyer and, people in the industry and just going, wow, there needs to be more of this out there. And so that's why I really, I just want to have genuine conversations with good people, and that's what we got to have tonight, and that's great, because it balances out kind of you and I just being idiots. So
I don't mean to steal your words, but agreed.
What'd you say?
Agreed.
Agreed.
So
don't I?
Let me flip through a couple things because we're on overtime already, and I know you got kiddos waiting and stuff, and real quick.
My kids are already in bed.
Then you're in trouble, and so are we.
No.
Real quick, some events coming up. The 9th annual Hippie Killer Hoedown.
That's the wrong picture. It's the 10th annual.
10th annual. Well, thank you. This is my production assistant.
I failed.
10th annual. Yeah, look, it says 2017.
I have to say, Hippie Killer Hoedown. It's a big deal. But wait a minute.
Let me get it to here.
It was not easy to find information.
10th annual.
Unless you have Instagram, yes, it's easy to find information.
You can get tickets on ticketsthefote.com, apparently.
Yep. April 14th.
Cuddy and everybody puts this thing
Cars,
on.
bikes,
it's a great
music,
time.
We've been
reporting on it for years, so go check it out.
This weekend's Giddy Up.
Yeah, Giddy Up.
Born Free, whatever their thing is, this weekend too, March 31st. They've got like a little deal out in California.
Oh.
Camping deal. So people can look that up. It's like the Born Free camp around or something going on in California. So
This was something neat I wanted to show you real quick. Have you seen this motorcycle, the Russian-made motorcycle that you can literally take apart in like 2 minutes and put into a suitcase?
And it's an all-wheel drive, like all-terrain two-wheel motorcycle. It's kind of crazy.
Redonkulous.
Wow, we need to test one of those.
Right?
Dude, I'm playing the video right now,
Right.
and like seriously, this guy is like in stuff that I wouldn't take a dirt bike through, and then in short order takes this thing and breaks it down and puts it into 2 little carry bags.
I totally have seen this. Yeah,
Have you?
I've seen this. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the 80s glam rock soundtrack to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
It's rugged, though. I mean,
like for as quick, like it's a snap fit model. I mean, look at how that thing's breaking apart.
That's bananas. Okay, stop.
Bananas is
music.
the soundtrack.
Stop the music, please. My God.
So anyway, one thing real quick, just to self-pander the magazine, I guess, real quick, is...
It's called something
So this month in the magazine, what do we got? Let's go to Heather. Mondo's bike on the cover, which is so badass. I love having bikes like this. A lot of great stuff. Tech has been killing, man. Like between Will and Daniel and our other visiting tech editors, they've been really getting it. Daniel did a great piece. I don't know if you saw or not, but you ever had like problems with your sprocket on a belt drive motorcycle? The sprocket bolts coming loose. Well, our buddy Hugh Owings at Hughes Hand Built has come up with a neat new product for this, and Daniel took the time to address this in a tech article this month. Let's check in with Daniel real quick.
Hi, Chris and Ken and everybody. This is Daniel from Pandemonium Custom Choppers here in Defiance, Ohio. Spring is upon us. The shop's super busy. It's just that time of the year. A couple weeks ago, I ran across a really cool new product from Hughes Hand Built. It's called the Sprocket Lock. What it does is it retains the rear sprocket bolts on your HD rear wheel from coming loose. No more rear loose sprockets or bolts getting tangled up into your swing arm. With the raise in horsepower that we're having nowadays, this is a very much needed product for the industry. I wrote a tech article on it this month. It's going to be on newsstands on CycleSource magazine. Check it out. Talk to you later.
So it's a killer product, like the way it goes together and stuff. I mean, you is always putting neat stuff out, but this is a really like well thought out, useful deal, man. Like, you know, big kudos to him for what he did with it.
So we don't usually promote our own magazine, but seeing that I have it in my hand, I'm going to. Chris actually did a really cool article about the science of tires. 2 years ago, we were fortunate enough to go to Milan, Italy with Metzler tires, and Chris got to ride on their test track and do side-by-side comparisons. We also got to go to their R&D facility. It was fantastic. But there's a couple-page article on here about how tires are made, why they're made that way, and it's really pretty cool. Twyla takes us through her visit to Chopperfest and the High Voltage Show. And we've got some killer bikes in here, too. So it's on newsstands pretty soon. Pick one up. If you don't want to go to the newsstand, you can buy it online.
Help a brother out.
Yeah, that would be nice. So yeah, everybody's favorite Gutbusters.
We got any more? We got any more social media there, Lulabelle?
You know, everybody was just really pleased with Krystal and Marilyn, so I think that was an awesome show tonight. And they're really thankful that we shared the motorcycle mission story. I know most people, especially here, hold the veterans near and dear to their hearts. So, you know, thank you everybody for the support. Right. Again, motorcyclemissions.org. Check them out.
And to not end on a heavy note, don't forget flat track racing in India coming at you. Different classes all the time. They're looking for riders. We'll keep you posted.
Really, Chris? Really?
I'm sorry. Hey,
Can't
listen.
believe you.
It's not all Dubai over there, baby. It's not. Let's not fool ourselves.
And in all fairness, I mean,
It's transportation.
that
Right.
and yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I want to see you put 6 people on a motorcycle.
I've done
Gonna
this.
be what
He's
we're gonna,
done. Don't
I
say
have
that,
pictures.
Ken.
I
Have you met
pictures.
my husband? Don't
We're
say
gonna
that.
do it. We're gonna do it in Gettysburg, aren't you?
That's it, baby. I'm down. On
And
a
you
little
know, you
bike.
know his heritage. Somewhere along the line in his family, they all did that.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
that.
Riding across the desert, 22 people on one camel.
So, so somebody's asking about any update on the Josh Owens support T-shirts.
You know, hey Camel, if you're still watching, you never sent me that link. I'll hit Camel up tonight, and I will get that posted.
Let's see if I can find something while we're talking.
And Mailman says you're still as cute as ever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Mama.
Camel's here. He'll put up the info tomorrow on the Cycle Source Facebook page.
There you go.
Camel, if you can just text it to me, I can share that link to a couple places. Missy, what are we going to sponsor you for? Flat track racing? I don't know. She's asking.
Okay.
Oh, I'll sponsor you. I think
you,
I already
Manny.
did. I sent her some free T-shirts.
There you go. Okay, well, I think
right.
we're pulling into the station, huh? I'm
We are
bummed.
indeed.
Man, the time goes so fast
That
when we're
was a
doing
really
this.
good show. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you got, Ken? Colorado signing out?
Oh, Missy wants us to send her to India to flat track race.
Oh.
Mm.
No.
No.
No. Sorry. All right. Well, I guess. Should I say I'm Chris this time?
No.
So you can say you're Ken.
No. That was a one-time thing.
Okay. You're.
I want to thank everybody for watching Chop Talk this week. We are in our holding pattern at the Tuesday 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time slot. Tell your friends, share this, hit the button, share it, get the word out. Send us your questions, send us your comments, tell us who you want to see on this show. We are rapidly looking for ideas, so
Yes, we are.
kick them to us. And until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we squeeze in all the bullshit we can fit, he's Ken.
And he's Chris.
I'm Lulabelle.
And we're out.